Thank you. First of all, thank you for inviting me and thank you for having me here over the topic, which is very, very relevant. That's women health. And I hope I'm much audible before I start sharing my screen.
You're perfectly audible. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so the topic for which I would be covering today and deliberating, we would be having if any questions you have, and we can chat over it, is on the empowering women's reproductive autonomy and the expanded basket of contraceptive choices in India. So if we go through the entire, content, the main overview of the main objective of the entire topic is about how the reproductive autonomy affects a woman's health. So here we are on the screen, you can see an overview. So there are three things which cover in this particular scenario. One is what exactly the reproductive autonomy is, what is the recent trend globally and specifically, in the middle and low income countries, specifically in India. I would give some examples. And third, how the reproductive choices of a woman, leads to empowerment of hers, not only in the health regard, but also in a holistic way. So first, reproductive autonomy refers to the ability of the individuals to make informed decisions regarding their reproductive health. Now, this autonomy is fundamental for achieving gender equality and empowering women specifically to manage their reproductive lives effectively. So, if a woman does not have her reproductive autonomy, then she won't be able to take decisions on, whether she wants to have a child or not, and when she wants to have a child. And it is having a direct implication on her health, on the economic, direct economic status of her. Then if we see the recent trends in the ongoing slides, we would be looking at it in detail that the contraceptive landscape is India, specifically we will be talking about, has evolved significantly. We have seen when the entire, family planning objective had been started and the various options were given to the population, and specifically, the services were made available to women. Now, and with introduction of various contraceptive methods aimed at increasing accessibility and choices for women. And now in the slides that we will be talking about that very recently, how government has provided another option in the entire basket of contraceptive where women can choose, the long-term reversible methods. The third thing, which is very important in this context, is the linkage between the contraceptive choices and empowerment, as I said. That access to a wide array of contraceptive methods enhances women's ability to plan their families, to pursue education and career opportunities, and maintain better health outcomes for themselves and their children. If you see the recent studies, then you would find that economic impact is having a direct correlation, with the contraceptive choices a women make. So, and the vice versa. Similarly, the contraceptive choices and, having the economic impact and thus having a direct correlation with her health. Now, going further, let's have this slide talking about the global overview of contraceptive access. So the global data and contraceptive view, if you see the report of World Health Organization 2023, an estimated 63% of women of reproductive age globally use modern contraceptive methods. So if we can see, okay, fine, the 63%, but what about the remaining 37%? So access remains unequal. It differs from country to country, with significant disparities observed between high income and low income countries. And even within countries, it differs between, how a urban geography or how a rural geography or a tribal geography, accept is, and how women choose the contraceptive method and it impacts their health. And then if we talk about the barrier to access, here we are talking about of that 37%. So common barrier in, if you see all across, if we have the global data, to access contraceptive, that includes both social and cultural norms. We have economic constraints, the limited healthcare infrastructure, and lack of education about available options. So in many times we have seen that in spite of having healthcare facility in the vicinity, the woman is not aware about the options which is available for her to take. And these factors contribute to a significant unmet need for contraception. Now, if we see the data, region-wise, and you can see on the screen that the share of women aged 15 to 49 years using contraceptive by regions, and what about the marital status? So it's very clear that since 1990s, as the slide is showing, so we are going in a very progressive way. Globally, yes, the use of modern contraceptive methods has been in increase and has been on rise by every region. So when we say modern methods, so they include condoms, they include IUCDs, they include pills, they include the reversible methods like other methods, implants. So these has been an increase worldwide across all the regions. Which is both a success factors, but also if we see that there is a graph where between 1990 and 2010, if you see, then there is a specific, sharp increase, but then it is steadily increasing. Not a very, very sharp rises there, and still that 37% difference we can see. Now, if we want to see the difference between how the married and unmarried sexually active women are using the contraceptive methods, and especially related to the marital status, then it has been again on a rise. But between, and we see that, yes, in between 2023 and going towards 2030, we were expecting that, yes, that rise would remain steady and there would be some acceptance of more of, this modern contraceptive methods. So now we talk about India's contraceptive journey and effort in how the choices are being expanded for women to take care. We started in 1952, the India's journey, where the male condoms were available to the public for use. The oral contraceptive pills were available in the program. Vasectomy and tubectomy were the few options which were available to choose on, And from 1965, IUCDs were introduced, that is intrauterine contraceptive devices. From 1992 onwards, non-scalpable vasectomy was made popular among men, for men taking the responsibility and equal partners in contraceptive choices and helping women in their health and decisions. Then if we go forward, then by 2016, was a very breakthrough year when injectable MPA and Centromen was introduced in the public sector. And in 2023, another very breakthrough, public health expansion has been happened in family planning, where the subdermal single rod implants were introduced by Government of India into the public sector, which was although already available in a private setup, but was not available until then till in public sector. So it was introduced and given more choices to women to choose on, and given more autonomy towards, how they wish to operate and how they want to operate. Now, if you talk about the long-acting reversible contraceptive, which has been recently introduced in 2023, so India successfully expanded its basket of contraceptive choices by launching the subdermal single-rod contraceptive implant and subcutaneous injectable in 2023 in its public health facility. And this provided an effective family planning options without the need for daily compliance. So it is a simple matchstick size, single rod implant, which is implanted in a woman's, inner arm, and having the very minimum side effects still we have seen. So if we go further, let's see the contraceptive landscape in India. So now, NFHS data 2021, the National Family Health Survey, NFHS 5, reports that contraceptive prevalence rate among married women aged 15 to 49 years in India stands at 66.7%, which indicates that a steady increase has been happening in the adoption of the contraceptive methods over the year. And recent data shows that acceptance of modern contraceptive methods in India has increased significantly from 47.8%, in NFHS 4 to 56.5% in NFHS 5. And when we say the difference between two rounds is around 5 years. So within 5 years, we have seen a great, increase of this difference. So the Indian government has implemented various programs, including the National Family Planning Programs, which focuses on promoting contraceptive use, even having, making them more aware about the options available, providing a wider choices of methods, improving access in rural and underserved areas. In spite of that, there are few challenges which we see still in the healthcare system, which is despite progress, challenges persist, specifically into the rural regions or into tribal areas where access to contraceptives and comprehensive healthcare and reproductive health education remains limited. Also, another challenge I would like to add over here is the awareness and acceptance of these challenges within the community, which are being there living into the tribal regions. So we are having, a lot of socio and economical and cultural challenges we face over there. Now, if we see the another data set, then we have seen that the total fertility rate by NFHS by 5, that means 2019 and 21, was 2, where the married women within the age group of 15 to 49 years who are using modern contraceptive methods, as we have already seen in the previous slide, were 56.5%, and with the total unmet need of 9.4%. Now, if we go further, then how important it is for a healthcare worker to talk with women regarding these methods available, which is directly impacting her health. So the data says that what is the percentage of how a healthcare worker has ever talked to a female non-users about FP is 23.9%. So that is something really concerning. And that also shows that, yes, there is an area which needs a little improvement. Rather more improvement, I would say. However, I'm very happy to share that, yes, the institutional births have increased tremendously with 88.6%, even, combining the rural area or a hilly terrains or even the tribal districts or the geographies mixed. Now, this is a slide which talk about the uses of different, modern contraceptive methods, the percentage of how the percentage have increased from 2015 to 2021. So if we see within these 5 to 6 years how the percentage has increased, so you can see in the screen that in every method of the family planning, the women are showing and have agreed that, yes, there is an increase of acceptance of every method. Now, of late, the sterilization has been India's perfect contraceptive methods, which usually being, opted by 38% of women, according to NFHS 5 data. However, the reliance on sterilization reflects a lack of access to alternative methods. So many women face barriers in choosing less invasive options due to misinformation or lack of awareness and knowledge, or even the social and cultural pressures. Again, that I said previously that there are more challenges, in the rural areas or in the tribal geographies. So women in rural areas often have limited access to healthcare facilities that offer a diverse range of contraceptive methods. In spite that, even in the healthcare facilities, we have best of the physicians and we try to give, all sort of equipments or all sort of choices which are available in the program. Now, if we talk about the challenges to the contraceptive use in India, which is directly related to how, women's autonomy of this option of reproductive choices can be affected and can directly, affect her health, are many. So it's not only a one single challenge, but a different challenges. For example, there are the cultural and social barriers. There can be misinformation. There is a lack of education and awareness. There is a challenge to access and even the availability. Then there is a gender dynamics, economic constraint, and even the lack of comprehensive education. So when we talk about cultural and social barrier over here, so many times women encounter societal stigma surrounding the contraceptive use, as family planning is often seen as a woman's responsibility and less of a man's job, which leads to a very reluctance, scenario for seeking help. Now, and this reflects a very deep-rooted cultural and religious beliefs that it can impede the reproductive autonomy and can directly affect a woman's health. Now, and then the second challenge, as I just mentioned, is misinformation or less of awareness or education. So there are a loss of pervasive spread of myths regarding the contraceptive methods, especially concerning their safety and potential side effects. So where women may feel that certain methods are not optimal for her to use, or even with the spacing method between two children's, she feels that if I accept one method, so whether there is a chance of should I be able to conceive again very easily or not, or this method is having more of the side effects and can lead to or can lead to problems in the second conception when she wants to have a second child. So such kind of misinformations are there which can deter women from utilizing the modern contraceptives, significantly affecting their health decisions. Then another challenge is the access and availability of these methods, where particularly in the rural and remote areas, I was discussing, and specifically when the COVID-19 pandemic hit. So they exacerbated supply chain disruptions we have seen, and we have seen the limited, for the limiting contraceptive availability, and the entire focus of the healthcare being shifted to infectious diseases, which has also been affected to a certain point, related to the use and access to the contraceptive methods. And then we have already seen that approximately 13% of women of reproductive age in India express an unmet need for family planning. And if we see the NFHS data, so we are having the 9.4%, which is highlighting a gap in the contraceptive availability, accessibility, even the knowledge and awareness and the cultural and social barriers. Then very, very important set, I think, which is very relevant to take into consideration is the gender dynamics. Now, we can talk about that we are, with the help of Government of India, is taking a lot of efforts, in maintaining the healthcare infrastructure and maintaining, in educating the healthcare workers so that they can further have the mass education and awareness. But the gender dynamics is very, very important, where we have to see that the burden of family planning disproportionately falls on women, with a significant reliance on female sterilization, which accounts for a large percentage of contraceptive use. This dynamic limits women's choices and reinforces traditional gender rules, which directly affects and burden her over her reproductive choices and questions that liberty as well. And of course, if she is not an earning member and having the low economic powers, that can limit her access to the contraceptive, and with some methods being perceived as too costly for a lower income families. And the last but not the least, the lack of comprehensive education, that is insufficient education regarding sexual and reproductive health, also limits the awareness of available contraceptive methods into the healthcare system in a public space or in a private space, leading to a poor decision making and unmet reproductive health needs. Now, while we're talking about everything related to how, reproductive autonomy is important, how all it is a spectrum which is interrelated to each other, and how global scenario is working, and how I gave you the example of India, then how, where we are, but how the reproductive autonomy influencing a woman's health and empowerment. Now, this slide is very important, which talks about that. So with reproductive autonomy, as access and ability to adopt the contraceptive commodity, it empowered women to take control over their life decisions. Now, this empowerment of taking control over their life decisions ultimately help her to pursue higher education or invest in their own career by delaying the early marriage and early childbirth. Now, what will happen if there is a delay in early marriage and early childbirth? So she would be able to put more energy and put more emphasis on her career, put more emphasis on her education, and this more allocation of time and resources to professional advancement leads to an increased female participation in the labor workforce and economic outcome. Now, having the more economic outcome in this way will promote the contraceptive autonomy among women ultimately, which directly addresses the gender wage gap and enhance gender equality. And ultimately, if the woman is, economically empowered, is having good awareness and good education, and can take her decisions, can understand, her health conditions, then she is more of, able to take the healthcare decisions of her own. So that is how the reproductive autonomy, influence the woman's health gamut and empowerment. And this autonomy allows women also to pursue higher education, if we have seen, and invest in their careers by delaying early marriage and their child health. So increasing girls' access to education improves maternal health in that way, because it, as we just discussed, that it reduces the too early marriages and then early childbirth, ultimately making improves the maternal health. It has been estimated that an additional year of schooling for 1,000 women helps prevent 2 maternal deaths. And a study in Zambia finds that HIV spreads twice as fast among uneducated girls. So here, these are certain examples which show that, more of if there is a delay in childbirth, there's a delay, if she enhances her education, then how it directly affects her health. So it improves the mother's health and maternal health. It avoids the maternal deaths, and then it helps in preventing her from infectious diseases. And these are some references where I have quoted these data from. So thank you.